here we are back in ancient Greece, but not so ancient anymore. A lot has happened since the Minoan civilization on the island of Crete, and memories of King Minos and the Minotaur and Labyrinth are a distant memory. Indeed, Homer and the Iliad and the Odyssey have long been written, and Pythagoras with his theorem and tuning are also long gone. This is the Epitaph of Seikilos, and we've already heard it performed now in two radically different ways. It survives as a monophonic composition. In the first performance, we heard it gently accompanied homophonically, but now very heterophonic, with no less than two winds and two strings, each performing the melody with varying decorative touches. Very nice. And now with an added bass drone. It's thought that such drones were used in many contexts. We know it was true in India. We suspect it also in Europe. And Greece is part of Europe, so why not? Oh, did you notice the drone changed? There'll be more to tell on that. Here it is again. Te, do. Interesting things going on rhythmically. How can we be sure of the rhythm of this piece? There are earlier Greek pieces that survive. The two Delphic hymns date from several generations before this, but they exist in fragmentary capacity as they were written on papyrus and difficult to interpret. But the Epitaph of Seikilos was preserved in stone, and so that gives us a whole different dynamic. Oh, there's Pythagoras with his tuning. It was said he first noticed the differences in intonation of differing hammers, and then went wild from that point. Hammers, bells, strings, winds, ostinato accompaniments, fa, fate, so, do, so, dramatic, like Thespis, the first actor from whom the term thespians is derived. Dramatic stories such as Orpheus, the quintessential musician, gifted a lyre by the god Hermes. Orpheus, born in Thrace and in the Balkan Peninsula in the Middle East, many singers ornament such as you hear. Orpheus, who descends to the underworld to rescue his wife. He is not successful, but he is reborn himself, such as Mithras died and reborn. Sound familiar? Orpheus does not come to a good end, and the tragedy of his drama is replicated on Greek stages for centuries via wondrous playwrights such as Aeschylus. Did they deliver texts in unmetered, ornamented fashion like this? Did Sophocles sometimes have his performers break into rhythm? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did Euripides have such lilts? Definitely Aristophanes, the comic writer, would have. All these writers to the present day are influential, and certainly the philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle. Their ideas on general philosophy and poetics, art, resonate to the Middle East and down into the present day. The Epitaph of Seikilos also postdates Alexander the Great and the Ptolemaic period in ancient Egypt, Ctesibius inventing the hydraulic organ, the first keyboard instrument, pipes activated by columns of pressurized water. It became terribly popular in the Roman Empire. It was played in the Colosseum, sporting events, killed those lions and gladiators.
Ancient Greek music. We know what it looks like, but can we know how it sounded? While there are plenty of images of ancient musicians, be they painted on vases or sculpted in marble, there are also quite a few fragments of ancient Greek music too. These snippets of ancient music are preserved either written on papyri or inscribed in stone. Whereas modern music is written with crotchets and quavers, quarter notes and eighth notes, ancient Greek music was written by placing a letter, which corresponded to a certain pitch, above an intended word or syllable. By transcribing the ancient compositions into modern notation, we can understand the ancient melodies, much like translating a passage of Greek into English. While many of the surviving examples of ancient Greek music are very fragmentary, such as those which preserve the music to Euripides' Orestes, the Seikilos stela is the earliest complete ancient composition and dates to the 2nd century CE.
Well, maybe.
The Seikilos stela was discovered around 200 years ago when a railway line was being built in Turkey between Smyrna and Aydin. It was then that the Seikilos stela came into the possession of a Mr. Edward Purser, who was in charge of building the railway line. He, for some reason, thought it would be a good idea to use the stela as a stand for Mrs. Purser's flower pots. The Seikilos stela then traded many hands and, in 1966, the Department of Antiquities of the National Museum of Copenhagen acquired it, and it is still there today. The Seikilos stela includes 2 poems and a dedicatory inscription. Only the second poem is set to music. The song is in the Ionic scale, and the pitch of the notes tends to follow the accents of the words. While we can recreate pretty certainly the melody and rhythm of the song, we don't know anything about the intended tempo or dynamics of it, or really how the composer intended the music to be performed at all. Despite these uncertainties, one can still get a very good idea of how the song might have sounded in its own day. Eikon he lithos eimi, tithesi me Seikilos enther, menemes e thanatus sema polukronio.
Whoa, GAE, not what's on the page and not what any other performer ever does. Maybe there's a reason. Who knows? Great video, but also not sure of the use of
Seikilos Uter, Zer.
Rimsky-Korsakov's Russian Easter Overture right here.
As can be seen, the end of the inscription causes some problems with regards to interpretation. It could mean Seikilos, son of Euterpos, but it could also mean Seikilos to Euterpa, maybe Seikilos' wife. Whether or not the earliest complete song could in fact be a love song is open to debate.
Well, okay, it's based on a Russian Orthodox chant, and the Russian Orthodox Church was based on Greek Orthodoxy. The Epitaph of Seikilos has been variously dated, anywhere between 200 BC and 200 AD, so I like to split the difference as about 1. It is traditionally these days notated in eighth notes, with the longer notes as quarter notes and dotted quarters, moderate tempo, and 6/8 as you're hearing with the pandra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Solfege, do, sol, sol, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, te, do, mi, sol, fa, mi, do, re, te, do, mi, re, fa, sol, mi, do, la, sol. Starts with the perfect fifth up, do, so, we've heard it so many times, fills in with a mi, sweet, major triad, then plays the other 3 notes, and do, re, mi, fa, so. It's a major pentascale, but then there, te, right on grieve, that's Mixolydian, do, mi, so, the arpeggio, and then back to the te again, and then alternating thirds. And it's a bummer, right? Life is short. A notated version starting with so, do, and a metallophone. It's in B Mixolydian, a drone on that lute. I think it's a lute rather than a lyre because it doesn't resonate as much. Do, do, te. There's that Mixolydian troublemaking note. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unison on the two instruments. Only time that it's not that homophonic texture. A little interlude there. Second verse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Clear. 1 and 2. Here are the accents on 4. 1, 2, 3. Here's te, te. Now check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's known as hemiola to have those accents. It's a little bit of almost like 3, 4 time. 1, 2, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's a do, do, la, so. The only time we hear that note, it's Western. A second notated version, now in A Mixolydian, clear 6/8, 2-bar phrases, 4 of them, and each first measure something to do with the major pentascale, each second measure with a longer note. Here's an upper exploration of the pentascale. Here's that bummer te, and here's the arpeggio up, and here comes the te again. Notice the end of these two phrases, very similar. The arpeggio varied, and the do, do, la, so. The fact that it ends on so seems to imply that it may go around again. And finally, two other marvelous versions that take us into distinctly modern